I'm glad that that's in the study.
Good morning. It's another beautiful day. My name is Susan Bishop. I am the facilitator for the Social Justice Council. This morning, I am a woman in my 70s with gray hair. I guess I'm that way every day. And I'm wearing a green sweater and a pair of rust-colored pants. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. We extend that love up to the chapel, where most of our children and youth are gathered this morning. The chapel is located on the other side of the church, up above on the second floor. A special welcome to you if you are new to the church. If you're here in person, you can find a card in the back of the sanctuary where you can share contact information so that we can send you our email newsletter. And if you're online, you can find a similar form under newcomers on our website. We're happy to have all of our friends, new and old, who are watching us on YouTube this morning. Please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. This afternoon's workshop, Church as a Network of Caring, will take place in the Eddy Room. Snacks will be at 12:30. Workshop begins at 1 o'clock. We have a few more slots available, so either talk with me or Reverend John Alou. Another announcement first is I'd like to invite Sandra Flansburgh to come on up, because she's got some news.
Good morning. I am Sandra Flansburgh. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a 60-something white woman, and I've got a green sweater on this morning. I am your president-elect, and also this year is serving as chair of our transition team search committee. And we have a new minister. Yes. So we have a signed contract. This person was unanimously our first choice, so we are very excited for us. Unfortunately, he is an experienced minister. He, she, or they is an experienced minister. I can't do it. They have a pulpit. They need to announce to their current congregation and do it in a compassionate way, and it's going to be hard for them to lose their beloved minister. So we can't share a name or details at this point, but as soon as we get the green light, we expect it in at least, sometime before a couple of weeks from now, we will immediately share with you, and I hope that you're as excited as we are. So stay tuned. I would like to ask the transition team / search committee to please stand, because this has been a lot of work and it's a great team. Marcia Woodward, I think, is not here with us, but Marcia Woodward is a part of it. Marilee Perriam, you saw stand. Ann Meeks. Todd Hildebrandt couldn't be with us here today. Suzanne Broadbent is also part of that. So thank you, everyone.
So that means they're not starting today and I can go home. Okay. I want to also invite Kathy Webster to give us a stewardship update.
Good morning. It's already a great day. So my name is Kathy Webster, and I'm serving as the president of the congregation at this time. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm wearing a jean jacket and a black top today. I am a white woman in her middle age. So I would want to just add one thing to Sandra's announcement. This is a contract ministry, which means the board is hiring this person to come to serve with us for a contracted amount of time. If we as a congregation decide we want to call this person once they are here, we have the right to do that. So this is a contract to call. So there will not be a congregational vote. right away. But once we get to know our new minister and our new minister gets to know us, we have the right and they have the opportunity to be called. So I wanted to make that clear, and we're happy to answer questions about that. There will be much more information forthcoming, especially when we are able to make an announcement about exactly who this person is. So on the stewardship side, why don't we show our excitement and pride in First Unitarian and in welcoming our new minister by really fulfilling our dreams in the pledge drive. As of today, we have 84 pledges. We have raised $256,351, which is more than half of our goal. Any of those new pledges or newly increased pledges are being doubled up to $30,000 by a generous group of members, some of whom are in this room right now, who have committed on top of their regular pledges collectively another $30,000 to be matched dollar for dollar with your new or increased pledge. This is a one-time opportunity for you to get your increase or your new pledge doubled. That is pretty remarkable. So if you have questions about that, two opportunities to ask questions. One is that I will be in Daniel Hall after the service with pledge forms. There's also a QR code in your order of service if you want to click on that. If you'd rather fill out a paper form and you want to talk about that, I have them, and I will be in Daniel Hall after the service also. Marlise will also happily offer you a pledge form. Also, we're going to have a Q&A here in the sanctuary after the service on March 23rd to talk about the stewardship campaign and our next year's budget, because those two things are integrally linked. And if people have questions about where our money comes from and how we spend it in a line-by-line kind of way, the budget will be starting to get fully formulated once we get a handle on how successful the pledge drive is. I feel like I'm on an award show. I'm being played off now. So those two opportunities. In Daniel Hall after the service, I will be there with pledge forms, and I'm happy to answer questions both about the ministerial search and transition, as much as we're able to share right now, and or to collect a pledge or talk to you more about your pledge. Thanks so much.
And so I say again, welcome to First Unitarian Church, and our prelude will prepare us for worship. I'd like to invite Frank to come forward. Frank Rossler is going to be our chalice lighter this morning in honor of his birthday. And in lighting our chalice, we can
can't see the grin on my face, but it's pretty big.
we connect ourselves with many different people. The many Unitarian Universalists across space and time who also light or have lit the chalice. Our spiritual ancestors with their dreams, good deeds, and even their failings. We light our chalice in Midtown Oklahoma City on land that was home to the first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita. On land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. We light the chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten the spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us. And that was a reading by Kathy Savani Gelland. Did I get that right?
Katie Savani Gelfand. And our call to worship this morning is by Anthony Machado. I will read it in the original Spanish first, followed by the English translation by Alan S. Trueblood. Mi corazón se ha dormido, colmenares de mis sueños ya no labráis. Está seca la noria del pensamiento, la cañones vacíos, girando de sombra llenos. No, mi corazón no duerme, está despierto, despierto. Ni duerme ni sueño, mira los claros ojos abiertos, señas lejanas y escucha orillas del gran silencio. Has my heart gone to sleep? Have the beehives of my dreams stopped working? The water wheel of the mind run dry? Scoops turning empty, only shadow inside? No, my heart is not asleep. It is awake, wide awake. Not asleep, not dreaming, its eyes are opened wide, watching distant signals, listening on the rim of the vast silence. I'm Reverend Johnalou Johnstone, your temporary minister for worship and pastoral care. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an older white woman, my long gray hair, and this colorful stole that I got in Mexico. I'm so pleased to welcome you this morning. We're talking about having a generous heart, and a generous heart opens to those around you. Our welcome demonstrates that generosity of heart, and that welcome will end with the singing of opening hymn number 300, With Heart and Mind. Greet one another.
Hi, I'm Robert, and this is my wife, Leanne Hannah. I'm an older white male with graying hair, glasses, and a gray sweater, he, him pronouns. I first visited 1UC a couple of times in the 90s after leaving the Army. But when Leanne and I got married, we wanted someplace to raise our kids in community, but traditional Christianity wasn't going to cut it. We found the community and a bunch of friends here in this church. The fellowship and acceptance make this feel like home. You really can't get what you get here anywhere else in Oklahoma City.
Hello, I'm Leanne, an older white woman with blonde hair and a gray cardigan. Giving to our church means investing in the future through religious education. Our programs nurture curiosity, compassion, and critical thinking in children and youth, helping them explore their values and grow into thoughtful, ethical adults. Through storytelling, discussions, and service projects, we teach them not what to believe, but how to engage with the world in a meaningful way. Supporting religious education is our way of ensuring that the next generation carries forward a spirit of kindness, justice, and open-minded faith.
So please make your pledge now or as soon as possible.
So that Paul and the stewardship committee's job is much easier.
And we want to say thanks to them for doing a thankless job.
Good morning, my name is Wendy. I am a almost half a century old female with blondish curly hair, bifocals. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm wearing a bright green top and black on the bottom. I am a member of our Radical Welcoming team, and I would like to invite everyone to continue our ongoing UU Common Read class at 5 today, as well as 5 next Sunday. You do not have to read anything before you come, you just show up. As a reminder, offering this education fulfills one of our welcoming congregation renewal requirements, and we need at least 10% of the congregation to attend. So far, we've only had about 2%. So if you can come today or next Sunday, that would be great. Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. March's Change for Change partner is Campaign for Southern Equality, an organization committed to advancing 2S LGBTQIA+ rights across the South. Through advocacy, legal support, and direct services, they work to promote equality, dignity, and safety for 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals and families. One of their notable initiatives is in states that have outlawed gender-affirming care. For example, Oklahoma has banned such care for minors. They offer a grant program that helps pay for travel to access the health care they need. By contributing today, we help strengthen their mission of building a more just and inclusive South for all. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment, we'll be passing around the offering plates. And if you're watching online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian, I can't even say our name, First Unitarian Church. Just write Change for Change on the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, 1uc.org. Thank you.
Hello again. When my mother-in-law finally gave up her duplex and moved into an assisted living situation, I would pick her up for lunch. It was usually a trip to Coit's over here on Pennsylvania Avenue at 39th, followed by a stop at the discount bread store on 39th Expressway, and then we'd go to Lake Hefner, where we'd sit and we'd feed the ducks, the geese, and the seagulls. It was an altogether absolutely splendid afternoon. Stopped at a light, we were approached by a homeless man who held a sign that read, "We'll take any help." Katie, my mother-in-law, opened her purse, withdrew a $5 bill, and handed it to me to give to the man. I asked her why, when she didn't know what he would use the $5 for. After all, she was a retired alcohol counselor and a social worker. Surely she understood that if he had an addiction problem, the liquor store would be his first step. I know that's what I thought at the time. Her response was to inform me that she truly didn't care what he used the money for, because it was no longer hers. Once she gave something to someone, she believed it was wrong to attach strings as to how someone was to use that which had been given. She never meant it as such, but I felt like it was a rebuke to me. Her words kept rattling around in my head on my sense of what was right and wrong. Strings. I'll come back to that. She lived her values of embracing anyone and everyone who might be down on their luck by allowing herself to give the gift of what I call selfless love to a total stranger. That money wasn't what was important here, but rather the act of giving someone something and expecting nothing in return. She insisted everyone deserved dignity and respect. After working with veterans for 35 years, there were a lot of things I learned, but one thing that really stuck out is that there is a very special bond between members of the armed services who put their lives on the line to serve our country. They ask for nothing in return except our respect. I learned that they were willing to lay down their life for another, perhaps a buddy, perhaps a total stranger, and they didn't care if the person was a homosexual, a Democrat, or a Republican. My friend Savim is Muslim and practices her faith through daily prayers. More importantly, she practices her faith through the work of her hands, especially practicing the pillar in Islam that speaks about zakat, or charity for those in need. Savim is a wonderful cook and teaches others how to cook Turkish delights at the Raindrop Turkish House. When I was laid up from my knee replacement surgery a year ago, Savim brought me food, enough food that I could have hosted nightly dinners for 8 for at least a week. And this past December, she organized her friends to bring me food. Some knew me from the ladies' Turkish coffee night, but others did not. One gentleman knocked at our door, gave my brother this huge box of food, and when my brother asked if he would like to come in and visit with me, the man admitted he had no idea who I was at all, but it was his duty to do what his wife had asked him to do. I like that. This is selfless love. And on that note, we are going to be the recipients of selfless love because the Turkish Raindrop House is coming here March 15th. Our doors will open at 6 o'clock, and they are providing the iftar, which is the evening meal served during Ramadan because they have fasted all day. And if you want to try that, try fasting from sunrise until sunset. So by all means, join us on March 15th. So I said I would come back to strings. I worked years to overcome the expectations that come with string attachments. I can say years because I'm in my mid-70s. And what I have found is absolute pure joy in giving of my time, my talents, and my resources to those who are having a tough go of it. The lesson Katie taught me took root, And I have tried to teach my grandson the very same lesson, the idea of generosity of spirit, generosity of talents, and generosity of resources. Because after all, we truly are all in this together.
I'm reading from the serviceberry, and I say serviceberry, it looks like serviceberry when it's written, but I encountered this plant first in West Virginia, and we called it serviceberry, so I call it serviceberry. So it's from the serviceberry, abundance and reciprocity in the natural world. In the Anishinaabe worldview, it's not just fruits that are understood as gifts. Rather, all of the sustenance that the land provides, from fish to firewood, everything that makes our lives possible, the splints for baskets, roots for medicines, the trees whose bodies make our homes, and the pages of our books, all is provided by the lives of more than human beings. This is always true, whether it's harvested directly from the forest or whether it's mediated by commerce and harvested from the shelves of a store. It all comes from the earth. When we speak of these not as things or natural resources or commodities, but as gifts, our whole relationship to the natural world changes. In a traditional Anishinaabe economy, the land is the source of all goods and services, which are distributed in a kind of gift exchange, one life given in support of another. The focus is on supporting the good of the people, not only an individual. Receiving a gift from the land is coupled to attached responsibilities of sharing, respect, reciprocity, and gratitude, of which you will be reminded. Let us be together in the spirit of meditation and prayer as I offer words from Earl K. Holt III, a retired Unitarian Universalist minister. The moment of prayer is an invitation to be calm in the midst of the turmoil of the world and our overbusy lives. To bring together thought and feeling, mind and spirit, and to find some center, some still point of perspective and peace. Here in this sanctuary, which has been the home for so many secret thoughts and hopes, fears and desires, may we feel free to look at ourselves with true honesty. May we be unafraid to face the decisions we've been trying to avoid, the doubts and questions it has been easier to ignore, the things we've tried to keep hidden, not only from others, but even from ourselves. May we come to discover that there are resources within ourselves and beyond us that are as hidden but as real as our secret doubts and fears. New dimensions of the Spirit within and without will be revealed to us as we confront ourselves honestly and come to understand that we are not isolated from the community of life and spirit, but that our soul's suffering connects us with the hidden suffering of others. May we come to see that in our deepest loneliness, we are not alone. And may we be emboldened by the vision to reach out to others in their need, and so finally to discover that to give is not only more blessed than to receive, but that to give to others is to receive what we most need for ourselves. Amen. I confess I do not always have a generous heart. I often look for how to shield myself in a particular situation rather than for how to be generous. I appreciate Susan's words about that phenomenon this morning, how we attach strings to our generosity, making it most ungenerous. Looking out for ourselves first, judging others. And reading Robin Wall Kimmerer's book on the serviceberry held up for me deeply entrenched attitudes and values underlying my difficulty with generosity. And if you're not familiar with her, perhaps from her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Kimmerer is a biologist and an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. In Braiding Sweetgrass, she braided together indigenous values, science, and personal memoir. She also recounted some of the contradictions between her values as a Native person and the values of the scientific community she was brought into. And she invites us to learn directly from the natural world. And in the book, The Serviceberry, she brings us some of that learning, contrasting the economy of extractive capitalism with a gift economy. The potlatch is a great symbol of the gift economy. In many Native communities, when someone celebrates an achievement or a milestone, they invite the community to a huge party and they give their stuff away. Instead of receiving because of their celebration, they give. And by doing that, they strengthen the bonds of community and demonstrate that individual achievement is grounded in community. Their gifts to others communicate that I did not do this alone. You all are with me. So, great, you might say. That sounds lovely for some small, close-knit group, some other time and place than we live. That's not the world we live in. We live in a world where we buy what we need and what we want, in a world where we exploit natural resources for the most we can get out of them, where if you ain't got the money, I ain't got the time. And we are seeing exactly where this value system gets us, to a place where workers are randomly fired, where war and peace are a matter of deals over minerals and beachfront, where billionaires get to make policy that will grow their billions, to a place where human beings are exploited, degraded, and bullied because capital is more valuable than labor and because might is right. That's the world we live in right now. Maybe there could be something different. Maybe this is an opportunity to confront some of our deepest values and the ways that we have structured our society. Economists tell us that we create our economy as well as live within it. And if we examine and change our own values, could there be something different? Could growing our own generous hearts change how our world works? Barbara Brandt in Whole Life Economics tells us the economy is not something out there, understandable only to the experts. You and I create the economy every day in the course of our daily lives with our minds and bodies, our hearts and souls, our skills and dreams and values. We create the economy out of our feelings we have about ourselves and our own worth, through our relationships with each other, and through our connections to the natural world. And if we create the economy, this also means that we can change it through the activities of our daily lives so that it more fully meets our real needs and expresses our deepest values. In some sense, economics and religion are about the same thing: faith and value. What do you put your faith in? What is of value to you? An economy does not work if there's no faith. What makes a piece of paper with a particular design or the swipe of a plastic card worth a trade for a tank of gas or a dinner out? Faith that that piece of paper or digital credit will be accepted by others for new purchases. It's all about faith. We can look to that ancient high priest of economics, J.P. Morgan, for evidence of the role of faith in the economy in 1907, when that august banker was trying to keep economic panic under control. Who did he talk to? Clergy. He said, it's time for reaffirming faith. Beseech your congregations on Sunday to leave their money in the banks. It's also about value. What we say, when we say how much money someone has, we call it their net worth. That's how much value they have. And economics have become so central to our view of the world that many of us believe that things have value only if they have economic value. And we're in danger of believing that even people have value only if they have economic value. When we overvalue economic good, we idolize it, we see it as a god central to the organizing principles of our lives, and that tells us we need to do all we can to consolidate our own personal financial wealth regardless of the impact on others. That does not increase our generosity. Our views of humanity and of what is expected of a moral person have been affected by our focus on money. The economic view does not allow us to see the rest of the picture. We spend so much of our lives fixed in this economic view that we begin to regard people and things as only worthy when they produce money, and we begin to regard people who have a lot of money as more worthy than the rest of us. Pope Francis has said, chasing the idols of power, profit, and money over and above the value of the human person has become a basic rule of operation and a decisive criterion of organization. It has been forgotten that above business logic and the parameters of the market lies human being, and that there is something owed to humans as humans in virtue of their profound dignity, the opportunity to live in dignity and to actively participate in the common good. When we recognize that there is value beyond economic value, it frees us to notice and esteem things other than money. Methodist minister and teacher Tex Sample has studied the working class extensively and finds a lot of generosity there. While people with more resources, he says, tend to rely more on money, on paying for things. Tex tells a story about an auto mechanic friend of his who repaired Tex's truck, and when Tex asked him what he owed him, he answered, "Why, nothing, Tex, that's what friends are for." So months later, Tex officiated at his friend's wedding, and when the friend asked him what he owed him, Tex had to fight all of his middle-class conditioning, all those years of education he had had to be able to utter the words, "I pronounce you." He had to remind himself of his friend's values of generosity to come up with the correct response. Nothing. That's what friends are for. In those transactions between Tex and his friend, nothing registered in the gross national product, as if nothing had happened. Economists might call it the informal economy. But something important was built, more important than a monetary transaction, a deepening connection between two men from different stations in life who shared experience, a connection rooted in generosity. Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao Te Ching, number 81, says, "The master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating, the master leads. Tex's story is an example of the Chinese master's wealth coming from giving away what we have. One of the things that happens when we let loose of our narrow vision of value as economic is that we aspire not to a narrow good for ourselves, but to a common good. We work to build those bonds of community. We know that if we lost everything, we would still have what matters. Pope Francis once more, not to share one's goods with the poor is to rob them and to deprive them of life. It is not our goods that we possess, but theirs. It is not our goods we possess, but theirs. That is the heart of generosity. So what qualities do we find in that generous heart? One of the first ones is appreciation. Barbara Brown Taylor, a religion professor and Episcopal priest, wrote a reflection piece about the well running dry at her rural home. A guest who was there at the time and lived through all the maneuvering to survive on water from plastic jugs and the nearby creek proclaimed, "I have never been so grateful for running water before. I never knew I could get by on so little. Why do I let it run and run at home?" To avoid digging a well, Taylor decided to limit her water usage and make weekly trips to the laundromat. The common watering hole in town, she calls it. She joined a community. And she asked some questions. How are we going to learn to live on what we have? How are we going to learn to share our supply? Appreciation for what we have is the quality of a generous heart. And to do that, we need to recognize when we have enough. We need to know the difference between need and want. So often we've said enough is enough, usually when there's a lot of negative going on. It's a lot harder to recognize enough when it's piling up stuff that we like, positive things. How many of us, though, have looked around after an orgy of Christmas unwrapping and wondered if we went overboard? Or sat in discomfort after overindulging in a buffet, or couldn't find the storage space for everything from the latest shopping trip. From time to time, it's clear, even when we're talking about things we like, that enough can be too much. A lot of the time, though, knowing what is enough of stuff that we like is tough. And the question becomes more acute when we look at the environmental situations. Now, all of us need to develop an accurate idea of where we really are in terms of wealth and income. Most Americans say they are middle class, which makes that completely meaningless. We need to talk more openly about it and recognize whether we really have more or less than other people, and knowing that if you're higher on the scale, not for competition's sake, but to know what is actually true when you start thinking about your need, what you deserve, and what might be given to others. Only if we understand where we are in the context can we begin to know what's reasonable and responsible in terms of consumption and generosity. And in general, Americans are rich. We can afford to be more generous. And I mentioned before the quality of recognizing non-economic worth. Human worth, without regard to economic worth, is a principle that has to inform our generosity. Because if we only consider people of value based on their net economic worth, then we're dismissing children, elders, people with disabilities, transgender people, people of color, women, and increasingly young adults, because our economic system undervalues all of those people. More than that, though, we're dismissing people who have abilities and dreams and passions and inherent worth and dignity. And outside of human people, there's the worth of the world. Trees are more than lumber. Rocks are more than precious gems and minerals. The world is not made up of commodities and resources, but gifts. Precious gifts that we need to value for themselves, not because of money they will make. And that is Robin Wall Kimmerer's point. Until we recognize the gifts of the earth, we will be unable to give what we must to save it. So another quality of generosity is valuing the perspective of other people. Do you know anybody who always gives you the gift they want? Not cool, right? We want to give for the benefit of others, not for our own goals. Now, the worst expression of giving for one's own benefit is exploitative. And the examples are kind of easy to come up with right now. I think of, Elon Musk gifts to the Trump campaign. Sometimes it's more subtle, though. Sometimes we want to stop suffering of others because it reminds us that suffering exists, or it irritates us. It makes us feel bad. What people have called idiot compassion. So when your 2-year-old throws a tantrum for a cookie in the grocery store, you give them the cookie, tantrum over, problem solved? Not really. Or the person who already has more cats than they can care for adopts one more because they want to take care of it. Or a parent protects a child from the consequences of their actions. Or we give someone money to make them stop talking about their needs. These aren't actual acts of generosity. Buddhist teacher and author Pema Chodron says that this kind of fake compassion is actually enabling behavior. It's the general tendency to give people what they want because you can't bear to see them suffering. At the same time, we do want to have an open heart, not only as we are giving material things, but as we give ourselves in other ways, as we give our time to others, as we do things for them, even as we think about others. A generous heart gives the benefit of the doubt, withholding judgment, trusting. And this can be tough to do because people do hurt each other. They do take advantage of others. So here's something you don't often hear in a UU church. Sin is real. People break our trust. And what we've often said in this church is that what matters is what comes next. Can we restore that trust? So I think we have to start out trusting. We have to at least trust on the first round. And once someone shows themselves to be untrustworthy, then we might be a little cautious. We might hold back a little. But if we can make a rapprochement, that's wonderful. I know someone who spent the bulk of his money to help his grandchildren, and though he had very little to support himself in the end, at the end of his life, he came away saying, "It was the best thing I did in my life." Because finally, it's the trust in collectivity, in the world, in doing together. The generous heart trusts, and by doing that, builds up a trusting support network around it. Now, I can't guarantee it will always work, but I can guarantee that if we do not trust, we will never have that trusting support network around us. Listen to your heart. Let your heart soften to what you feel. and soften to whatever is calling to you in the moment. See what your heart tells you about what needs to be done. Allow the emotions in. Slow yourself from reacting too quickly. Let compassion arise. As poet Gwendolyn Brooks wrote in a poem about the great singer Paul Robeson, we are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. So may it be for ourselves and for all the world. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 134. Our world is one word.
We extinguish our flame, our chalice flame, but not the light of love and community, which burns on in our hearts.
Of John C. Morgan, in the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we knew, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love. Amen.